to really test yourself. But it very much feels like a lot of these players, they're going to have to start testing themselves against the Europeans. Anyhow, spawning over in the bottom right-hand side, playing as the Red Terran, it is time.
In the upper left-hand side, we've got from Europe and Italy, it is Reynor. You know, Ben, yesterday's results were so crazy. Someone on my Discord did the math, right? Do you want to take a guess what the percentage chance was of yesterday's results happening?
I'm going to guess 0.4.
1.2.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, that's still like 1 in 100 times the predictions would say yesterday happens. Like, that's how crazy yesterday was.
Like, I know it's really lame when you say guess it, and my guess was lower than it was, but like, so I'm sorry for ruining that. But yeah, I really didn't believe it was going to happen. Ooh,
no, I know.
Yeah, gas pool as well. Like, this is very, very cheeky by Reynor, and I don't know, like, given that Time does play in his own region, like the Chinese region kind of thing, I've noticed the Chinese keep a lot of strats to themselves. I know he also gets to practice on Korea a lot, but yeah, this would be a very good shutdown of anything like proxy raxes, because I don't know how much Reynor's actually got to study his opponent. Yeah,
it's one of those, we know Reynor has always been weaker to proxy rax, right? It's something he's complained about a lot in the past when he's lost series. And he, you know, to the point where sometimes even drone scouts out and about from game number 1. This just would shut something down, but it also gives him the chance to be aggressive and just take the series into his own hand. It is a smaller rush distance map. Why not open in a way that can maybe give you that kind of edge early? I think one of the things I've always liked about Reynor and Serral's ZVT is they're not afraid to mix in like a roach heavy opener, get some damage done, because they're so good at transitioning out of it, no matter how much they achieve.
Yeah, for me, it's very similar to Maru, how he approaches, well, at one time every matchup where he'd proxy, and he would just transition out of it because he was just so capable with his units. And yeah, I like that you point out that Serral and Reynor have both started diversing a lot more into just making the game difficult. And you know, when you're a player and you're prepping for a series, and you know, prepping is the real clincher there. If all of a sudden your opponent is doing something that, I haven't played against this much, like I wasn't prepared for this, it's then you dictating the pace of the series. So throwing this kind of thing out there, yeah, it's great stuff by Reynor.
He's going to go Overlord speed as well. So it's almost that, like, it changes it up, but it's also very safe. Like, he wants to know what's going on. We've seen a lot of TVZ lately that's been very, like, multiple racks focused early. It's not quite been 2-1-1, but we've seen like a factory into a second rack. So we've seen like a 3cc into 2-1-1. So I can appreciate this Overlord speed sort of saying like, hey, I don't want to get caught off guard by some sort of 6-minute hellbat timing with stim. I don't want to be hearing about any of that. I just want to play a game where I know what's up, I can defend your nonsense, and get to a stage of the game where I'm more comfortable.
Yeah, and like this so far, if I was in Time's position and it's like, I mean, look at this, he scouts the 2 factories immediately. And like, but yeah, if I'm in Time's position, I'd be scared of anything. Like that amount of lings early on with speed, it would have been like, okay, am I getting baneling busted, you know, immediately. But yeah, now he kind of knows like, okay, it's speed, like that gives me a little bit of time, but all of this has been scouted before it's even started. So Reynor, not only is he in the know, but this has gone pretty darn well for him, I would say.
Yep, he shouldn't take any early damage, right? He should be fully aware, should be able to make his way into Rod's Roaches, especially with the secondary scout, confirming that, in fact, Blue Flame is on the way up. And there's the Rotron going down just as he double checks. And from this point, right, obviously Time's going to end up... Do you think he's going to play mech here? We've seen a lot of mech on Lightshade lately, but of course, this can sometimes turn into bio off these Blue Flame Hellions.
Yeah, it's not a guarantee anymore, is it? Like before, it's like, okay, I've invested into 2 factory. By the way, I love the fact that Reynor's not being stubborn and is just going to try and hold this off with like Queen Ling, basically. Like he's getting the Roach Warren. He's not got any drones out at his 3rd or anything. So far, nice defense by him. Granted, he did get to see everything. I know Time as a really good bio player. So I like that transition is still very possible.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't want to commit to anything just yet. I mean, we see the armory coming up, but even nowadays, that can lead you into the Cloaked Widow Mines, and then from Cloaked Widow Mines, you actually have another way to harass while switching into bio. So there's a couple of options still as Hellions will stay active, and We have another 4 Hellions move now. With the armory finishing, you can morph in those Hellbats too. So a couple of things to watch out for, but I love that Reynor has some Lings set up to run by on that right side. They're not super effective against the Blue Flame Hellions back at home. So why not try and put some pressure on, force some units to stay at home, especially with no more Hellions building. They could maybe get something done.
For sure. Look at this, by the way. Roach is in the main base already. The Spore Call has gone down. It's almost as if you've played against this kind of stuff before, and when time runs in like that, it's like, oh, you're already ready for this? But this could be kind of juicy. Gets 2 drones with the first hit here. Oh, 5 extra drones. This is already really damn good for the Terran.
Yeah, 12 drones down as now the Hellions hit the 3rd base as well. That's 15. He might get the cancel on the 3rd base, mind you. That's getting very, very close as Hellbats morph him back across the map. We are going to be seeing the Hellions still in the main base. Drones are still stacking up there, and there's a lot of damage being done as drones are still in range of Hellbats here. The 3rd CC got killed off, though, so that is a big deal. But the drone damage is really ridiculous.
It is super damn ridiculous. 23 drones dead to 4 SCVs and the cancelled CC. Definitely a good start for the Terran. Behind this, he has to restart his 3rd CC, which definitely slows him down considerably. But the thing is, the damage has already been done, and now the next wave of attacks is going to come too. It's going to be like Liberator. Look how many Widow Mines he has in his main base, actually. He's got like 7, 8 Widow Mines just waiting there, getting ready to be dropped. And Reynor does scout this immediately, but just because you see it doesn't mean you're going to be able to stop it.
And this game really confused me because I saw the extra gases going down, so I was ready to accept it was going to be mech. And now we get stim pack and more barracks, and I'm like, okay, finally it's switching, but he actually had me completely sold that this was going to be mech in the end. But we are going to switch to bio. I mean, this is where these Widow Mines come in, right? Another form of harassment, and it's how Terrans have gotten into good positions against Circle. You start harassing, you never stop harassing. He's got drilling close too, so the reaction has to be on point. And, you know, even just 4 drones here, and you're going to save some Widow Mines. It's all stuff that slows Reynor down, gives you a better mid-game. And I think that's very critical. Being able to get ahead early against Reynor, I think, is one of the ways you're really going to have a chance to win this out.
Yeah, like initially I felt the response from Reynor there was pretty good, actually, like pretty darn good, because losing 6 drones to 4 Widowmine shots, not bad at all. But the fact that Time got to get out of there and save, you know, 2 of his Widowmines, that was really, really good by him. Wow, a Spire on the way. And so Reynor definitely knows he's against Bio here because he's getting the Carapace upgrade over the other upgrades, which is, I mean, that's good for him to know that. But yeah, Time just on the aggressive front here.
Yep, just never letting up, right? He's still got Hellions, so now he's going to clean up a bit of creep spread, and I love this, of course, because one of the things you don't want to have happen is you finally get to a good bio push, and it can't go anywhere with the creep spread, right? So making use of his Hellions, going to come back in just as the Queens maybe think of rebuilding. They are still a threat, and now a drop toward the 3rd base again. It's just non-stop here from Time, and that's where it needs to be. He's going to get into this natural, and I mean, run around a little bit, see what's going on. Doesn't actually get it in the end, but I mean, he is close to getting just even more worker damage done every few moments.
Yeah, that was the wonkiest wall by Reynor, but I mean, it worked out. Starts his +2 armor immediately. I think Time, yeah, he scouted that Spire though. That was one thing he got done, so immediately starts a Thor here for that possible Muta switch. Oh, Widowmine's getting in, dealing damage. All of this is just slowing Reynor down, but I say that. Look how many drones he's on already. 80-odd drones. This is, it's actually insane how well Reynor macros up.
Yeah, 80-odd drones, but it is, of course, like a low army supply at the moment. So I do worry a little bit about the 1-1 timing, perhaps, once Time gets 1-1 combat shields. I feel like that's going to be a real telling, or a real kind of turning point of how much has Time done. Did that 3CC cancel put him too far behind to capitalize on the worker damage? Because you can rebuild drones, but if you rebuild all your drones and have no units, well, when the Terran gets aggressive, you're probably in some trouble. Yeah, definitely.
Like, the one saving grace for Reynor this game, and I love how much he's been macroing, because this is one thing that really shone to me when, you know, when he played Euthermal. And Euthermal on this map in particular, he took so much damage, but at the end of the game, he had like a 5k, 3k bank, and Euthermal was basically laughing to himself on the webcam kind of thing, because he's like, I felt I did so much damage to you. So if Reynor, like if this game can keep on going with Reynor just kind of being tickled by this damage as opposed to like, you know, being kind of swept out, he could find himself in a good spot because he did kill that 3rd, or at least get it cancelled. So even though Time's harvester count has been really good, he's up to 64 here. his third definitely was super slow down, and we're getting right on back into it, guys.
Yeah, that third is such a shame because, especially with the map control that he had from all the harassment, he totally could have got it into position if it had just finished up, right? So that's probably the biggest moment so far from Reynor to stay alive. I mean, of course, some continued good defense too. Love that Contaminate, just slowing down the combat shields, because I really think the 1-1 combat shield timing is the next scary point of this. So anything you can do to maybe slow that down, probably going to be a win for you there, as Hellions still around too, Ben, and they're still just diving in. I mean, this is so annoying. You show up, you get a few more drones, you pick away a little bit, you force units to come back to deal with this.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed the continuation of Hellion production from Time.
Yeah.
Like he had 2 factories. He had them super early with a reactor on, so it's like, hey, I'll just make a few extra Hellions here and there. I'll continue the Widowmine production afterwards, and he's got a very scary army together. He's now hitting his +1/+1. Reynor's been very diligent about getting that +2 armor up, and the plus melee, it's not as important because Banelings don't really give a damn about upgrades, but yeah, this is definitely turning into a real game here. 89 drones from the young Zerg.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. This is the sort of position I feel like Time gets into a lot against these European Zergs, where he gets into like a good spot, but then he can't really seem to ever capitalize on it, and it becomes this epic kind of back and forth game, but the Zerg just seems to have the edge the entire time over, and every second that passes by now, I'm more of a fan of Reynor's position, right? Time isn't making that push happen with 1-1. He's also not starting his 2-2, which is a problem because he's already going to be behind a +2 carapace upgrade, so a little worried about that. Let's see what he does as he pushes across. This is off 4 bases, so it's not supremely all in or anything crazy like that, but it is time for him to start slowing the Zerg down. Otherwise, that infestation pit finishes, we get up to Hive Tech, and if the Zerg gets there without any, being slowed down at all, and Ultras get out, you're probably going to have a real bad time.
I mean, if he doesn't start up that 2-2 very soon, it's going to start turning into an all-in, but Baneling speed isn't done and isn't done for a while. And I like that. Oh, those Widowmines getting some juicy shots off, but Reynor's getting rich as time goes by. And Time, he's kind of walking around, clearing up the creep spread. He's also like re-expanding, does eventually start his 2-2. But every moment that goes by, I feel it is a good moment for Reynor. He's going to be able to make way more Banelings with that supply that he has available. And I mean, they don't cost supplies, so.
Yeah, it's just the longer you wait, the better that Zerg army gets, right? Because the more they get, the more bank they get to rebuild with. Here we go. Reynor not really going to come in from multiple angles at all, so it is just from this left to right side. And he doesn't have Baneling speed here. I didn't realize how late the Baneling speed is. That's a big problem, and maybe that means that Time can actually pick off this base.
He might be able to, and this would section off the north base as well, because I think he knows about it. And this was absolutely a big blunder by Reynor. He does capitalize by getting on top of this Thor. Widowmine does fall down, but gets it before it burrows. And Reynor, even though he has lost a base, he only lost 5 drones there, and he's still super duper rich.
Yeah, this is the problem. You take down one base, but there's so many other bases to go to. And right now, not really set up to fight just yet. Reynor's going to jump on him. Time hasn't realized it still as he's moved command him back. All the important units on the back lines there get caught, the Thors and the tanks. And it's just a bit of bio that escapes away while the meters continue to deal mega damage over here. Now that was a blunder.
That definitely wasn't good for Time at all. I mean, he's down in upgrades, he's down in everything at this point, and his economy, even though he's got Widowmines here, he's just getting ransacked. Reynor, he does not give a damn here, Wardy. Even though he's lost a lot, he's still 200 supply. He's still absolutely maxed out. He's got 93 drones and more producing.
Yeah, that was just a moment that you don't really recover from as Time. You can't lose your army like that. Even if you stop and you get caught off guard and you turn around and fight, at least you're trading out, but he lost so much before you responded. And now Reynor, that's all it takes. If you make a mistake like that, Reynor will just capitalize in a big, big way. He's got bases all the way down the left side. He's reestablishing the top side of the map as well. His 96 drones are going to work. And that's why he's just consistently remaining maxed out here as Time gets 2-2, but to what end, right? What's it going to really give him here as Banes roll in? He's going to continue to lose SCVs, and he's struggling to stay above 60 workers now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he absolutely is. And the creep spread has been pretty good, honestly. Like, Time did a really good job of clearing out in the middle of the map. And he's going to try and get some damage done down here in the south portion. But when you find Zerg taking these kind of bases that aren't the safest, but obviously there's bases behind that as well, you start to feel real bad and claustrophobic as a Terran.
You just continue to roar around. They need to be a little careful of this, wouldn't mind, because some of them are low HP, but they're going to clean it up. In the bottom left, can have another fight breaking out as Banelings roll forward. I mean, the good news here is it's at least a splitting position for time. He can trade somewhat decently in this, but it's still the problem of the mutas being elsewhere, and he's not making progress. He's only trading out in a world where he needs to get so much more done. I think a real telling part is the resources lost. We've only got 1,000 resource loss difference between the two of them. That should be way, way better off for time if he wanted a hope of fighting this amount of drones.
And I'm going to channel my inner Todd here, Wardy. Look at the supply. Reynor literally is not dipping below 200. Like, even though he's losing units, he's so damn rich. And this is kind of one of the problems when you allow a Zerg to just macro up and get greedy. Even though time did the damage early on, you have to continue with that damage. And, you know, he slowed down the game a lot. He went and took like 4 or 5 bases, and, you know, Reynor out-greeded the absolute crap out of him.
Yeah, it was so heavy on the harassment, it took a long time for him to get to the point where he'd have anything else to really make a bigger push with, right? So Reynor had a lot of time, and even when I felt time had that moment to attack, he didn't seem to think so. So he waited a little bit longer, he got maxed out, and he tried to do it with the max out, but yeah, it just didn't work well enough. And well, now we're just waiting to see how Reynor's going to pick him apart, right? Because he's just going to keep going from multiple angles and slowly but surely take down the economy to the point where time just can't rebuild anywhere near enough to be able, you know, to begin mounting defense.
Yeah, I like credit where credit's due. Like, Reynor, he's not just kind of gung rushing everything in one spot. He's still playing the game as well as it can be played, just trying to do all the tactical play by tearing him apart limb by limb. But here, takes out a base, and he's got the mutas on the other side of the map as far away as possible. So he's trying to make Time's life as difficult as can be, and he's doing a really good job of that. And Time, he doesn't want to be defending right now, and you see that. He's trying to move to do a counterattack, but Reynor, he's just re-expanded. He's taken his whole side of the map, and he's got mutas in his main base here, Wardy.
I mean, you're going to be fighting ultras while 2-2 versus 3-3, and trust me, those ultras, when you've got +2 attack and +3 carapace and chitin is playing, they feel like ultras when they first got upgraded in Legacy of the Void. Like, they just will not die. So it is not looking pretty at all for time. I mean, more and more SCVs going down. It's just been an SCV onslaught for the last little while. The mutas are somewhat unstoppable at this stage. It just takes too much. And at this point, there's even SCVs in the drops. I mean, that's how little time has to pick up, apparently.
Yeah, like, time, he's back up to 170 supply. But then I'm going to look at the bank again. This is so similar to the Euthermal-esque situation. Reynor, he's just rich as hell. 5k minerals, 2k gas. Even if he does lose everything right now, he has enough to make an army and an army again. But time, after seeing that many ultras with way better upgrades, like, this feels like you're getting toyed with at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Reynor's just doing it right. The longer he waits, the more of a bank he has, so all he has to do is take one fight then the other. I mean, he's going to lose another base here. If he loses enough bases, there's a world he doesn't have the lava to rebuild, and maybe that becomes the problem, possibly. I mean, right now he's got 29, so it's a way to go, but it's possible. Another hatchery bottom left goes down.
Time's still playing really well. Like, he absolutely is not giving up, and he is closing that supply gap. SCV count-wise, I mean, we just lost a few over here, but 41 SCVs. It does mean that his army is going to be absolutely huge when it does all gather together. I'm just so scared for him because what does he actually have? He has 14 Marauders, 59 Marines, 5 Widowmines, 2 Thors, and then a bunch of Medevacs. It's not really got those super high-tech things together, you know?
No, it doesn't have the... It's still a very basic army, right? With a couple of Thors added in. And that's the problem because the Zerg army is teched up a lot. There are 6 Ultras involved and, again, only 6 Widowmines as well. It feels like for the amount of bio he could do with twice that number at least. He's going to find another base up here, though. I really think the way to win this game is going to be by killing these bases again and again. And so far, he's doing just that. Yeah,
I'm actually... I don't know what Reynor's plan is here because it feels like he's just hoping to bounce around from base to base with the counterattacks, but I've really felt that he's been able to win a fight for a long time now. And even though he is mining out his side of the map and he's doing it very well, at some point he's going to have to go for it because, like, what are you waiting for?
Do you think he gave him too much time? Like, I feel like Reynor should have struck before time got to rebuild so much. You know, because now 160 army supply is terrifying to fight into. I feel like Reynor's army is almost not meant to fight into this at all. Here we go. Banes are going to roll into what should be a bit of a meat grinder, hitting a lot of Marauders in the front. You can see Reynor doesn't like it. He backs away. Okay, yeah, he chips away. He trades out a little bit, but his rebuild is just going to be mostly Lings. Right now, we see a few more Banes going down, and there's still a lot of time pushing forward. The army supply gap has closed. We'll see if Reynor can maybe now take a larger fight to really clean this out, but he's going to be supply blocked as well, and he might lose the Balin Nest.
Losing the Balin Nest would be pretty big. I mean, like, time, he's only 40 supply behind, but now the Mutas come in, and they are 3-0 Mutas, and this whole army is going to get cleaned up by Reynor. And Reynor, he's still got a massive bank. I mean, time, he's doing what he can. Like, he's taken out 2 bases. This might be the 3rd base now. And Reynor, again, he's getting a little bit supply blocked here, but it really feels like Reynor's making this a lot more difficult for himself than he should be, because we saw if those Mutas came in along with the rest of his army, he'd have wiped the floor with it. Like, I feel this is one of those games to try and demoralize your opponent and make them feel helpless for the rest of the series.
I feel like there's really... Okay, I feel like now Reynor's got this, right? You know, he's starting to crash in, he's starting to clean up, but there was moments where time looked as though he was turning this around, was getting back into it, and yeah, it was just... Time had hope in a game where hope felt lost. Yeah. Even though I was absolutely crediting Reynor for his game plan in that he was still playing it, like kind of trying to split time up a little bit, I felt there was definitely a time where he could have just, you know, pressed the kill button kind of thing a bit earlier before, like, because he was 3-3 against 2-2 for a long time. Yep. And then time, you know, he just caught up in supply, got the +3 weapons, and that's when Reynor took the fight. It was a bit mistimed, but I still think Reynor's pretty easily got this one in the bag. Like, his bank is huge. He's almost doubled the supply. I think this might be the last fight of the game. Oh, yeah, well, yeah, if it was going to be a fight, it might have been as Marines and Mutas go at each other on the other side. It's actually pretty good for the Marines. A Wooden Mine gets picked off. Obviously, the Mutas eventually get the cleanup, and at the end of the day, it's going to be okay. Reynor rebuilds 13 more Mutas. He finds himself Lings on the bottom side orbital command, so that's a pick off. As time will get another hatchery, but I mean, he's done such a great job of draining this bank. He just won't have his own final push to maybe take advantage of it, while, of course, Reynor also re-expanding. It's 1 SCV on the map to 72 drones. I think that might just be the final story of this game. Yeah,
time, you actually played pretty darn well, and you've been dead for a long time, but GG is called. Reynor does take the first map of the series. But yeah, you got to admire his tenacity, because I actually do think he played pretty damn well. It's just Reynor. Yeah, he made that game look more difficult than it should have, but after the 23 drone loss, I'm not surprised that he kind of just wanted to make sure that he safely had it tucked away. Because yeah, that game started off with a Blue Flame Hellion kind of harass that did a lot of damage.
I mean, the start of the game was ridiculous, and time really kind of dominated the first 5-6 minutes or so, but I feel like it all comes down to losing that command center, right? Because if Reynor doesn't do that, time gets 3cc much faster, he transitions a bit faster. And if all of that happens a bit quicker, there's no way Reynor can rebuild to that amount of drones and get back on track. But because he was able to, and then time never really pushed until maxing out, even though typically you'd see like a 1-1 timing or so, right? He stayed at home past 1-1, didn't start 2-2, then pushed while maxed out, still not starting 2-2, and that's where Reynor got away back to the game, and that's when Reynor obviously started to get back. And of course, the final, I think, big turning point was that moment where you just move command your army for 5-6 seconds, with Reynor getting the full surround, and that's obviously very difficult to come back from. And yet, he still nearly maybe did it.
Actually, yeah, that's such a sad moment, because I mean, Zerglings, when they were running to catch that army, and it's like 2 tanks and 4s left behind in that surround, that was so heartbreaking. Because yeah, there was a lot of tempo on Time's side for sure, but yeah, I've always, whenever I watch Reynor play this matchup, and somehow he's not only staying alive, but he's thriving because he's continuously just making a lot of drones. If you leave him be, even for a moment, like he just spirals out of control, and that's what we saw Clem really work with. I feel like the games were kind of short and sweet and very perfectly executed to kind of like cut all the heads off the Hydra at once before they could keep respawning. So maybe time kind of realizes that he can't slow down the game as much as you can against a lot of other Zergs, because Reynor, he's just one of the absolute greediest fellas out there.
Yeah, I also wonder if it's a bit of an interesting sign for Reynor, who scouted everything that last game and still ended up taking so much damage. That's got to be a little bit scary, right? You go into this game now, and I feel like our blue Zerg in the bottom right has got to do that again. He's got to scout, otherwise he's going to be in trouble. This is Reynor.
And spawning over in the top left-hand side of Romanticide, it is time. I didn't actually get to see which map choices were for which player, but I would have imagined that Lightshade was Time's pick as well, because Romanticide is actually a very tricky map to try and slow down the Zerg opponent. Like, if we look at this triangular setup they can get, it's all on the high ground, obviously. And then there's 2 ramps that lead up both directions. And having your Hellions kind of move around from this area over to the left side, they have to go all the way around, which means it's a lot slower at trying to turn up and trying to bounce from side to side. It means the Zerg's life early on is quite an easy one, actually.
Yeah, and you can also, even if you want to, take the non-triangle setup and move up with your expansion, right? And then there's no way for the Hellions to deny creep, because you just put your queens out the front, spread and creep there. And where the Hellions meant to go, they can't really loop from there all the way around either, right? For dodge into your natural. So you've got options as the Zerg.
I just got updated that it was in fact Time who picked Romanticide and Reynor who picked Lightshade. So definitely a little bit of a surprise, given that Lightshade is one of the shorter maps. But I mean, Reynor played it flawlessly, and oh yeah. Okay, so what we got here? We got the normal Reaper expand from Time. He's not doing any of the SV scout shenanigans, and Reynor he's gone for a pool first this game as well.
Yeah, opening the same way. I wonder if it's just like a confidence play from Reynor, where he's like, you know, if I just open safe, I don't give him like an early advantage, an early win, then surely I'm good in the mid game. But after that first game, I'm not really convinced that that's the case. So yeah, it definitely feels like a very safe way to play for Reynor.
Yeah, definitely. And Time upon scouting this hatch, and he's like, oh, that's a late hatch. He's running back home. But I think given that Reynor saw that Reaper heading back, he's also like, yeah, I'll wait as well. Like, we're not going to just get an SUV and get out of there. I'll save these links for a better time. I think that's also one thing that players are way better at these days, like just retention of units and not just making them for their one time to shine. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been one of those. I really feel like Clem is one of those players that really popularized this almost, where it's like, his Liberator is disgusting. It can just never die for so long. And even if it only gets 1 drone every time it moves, it still gets like 7 drones, because that's how many times it relocates. And yeah, you know, it comes down to just keeping units alive for as long as possible. Time a little bit afraid this time. Once he sees Overlord speed, he should know he can cancel this bunker, because obviously Overlord speed. Do you think he just stopped the Overlord there to hide that? I think he might have done.
That would have been a really smart play if he's actually stopped this. Okay, now he's scouting in, but Time's like, oh, okay. Like, this isn't quite like a Baneling Burst or a Roach All-In or anything like that. I'm a little surprised that he's still continually making the Cyclone, because Cyclone's kind of, well, I feel like it's one of the more useless units in this matchup unless you're super defending against Roaches or something. But yeah, he's not going to have any map presence for a while now. Like, does he know which third he's up against? I don't think so. Will he be able to find out? He will with the Hellions that are coming out and the Liberator, but definitely late, so he's got to play a bit scared here.
Yeah, no, it's there's really not much to do. And meanwhile, Reynor sees absolutely everything as well, right? So, you know, same as the last game, Reynor kind of, obviously there's nothing as tricky coming this time until the Fusion Core goes down, just as this Overlord gets denied. So that's going to be the switch up from Time, and Reynor doesn't have an Overlord on the top left of the map just yet, so he doesn't necessarily get the scout on that for now.
You know, I take it all back. That Cyclone denying both the Overlords, and especially when your opponent's gone for, a pool first, meaning he's not economically as great as he should be. That Cyclone's done its job. If he can get away with hiding this tech for longer, which, you know, he pokes and he scouts where the third is, this would kind of make me think like, oh, is this Zerg doing some like Roach All-In still, given that it's the forward third? So I'm not surprised that Time's keeping things at home and just playing a bit safe. But yeah, like Time, even though Reynor's definitely making the game difficult for Time, I'm liking a lot of Time's choices.
Yeah, no, I like them too. I like that this is a single BC as well. We're going to see Bio behind it, which is very time-esque. But one BC can really throw the Zerg off because it's also that weird state of, do you build something to fight off that BC? Well, if you're going to go mutalist anyway, then sure. But if you didn't want to play mutas here, well, now do you have to kind of play mutas just to push that BC back, right? It's so tough because it will be annoying if you're not careful about it as this lip shows up and there's already going to be drones pushed away. In time, you can see just settling for, lost mining time. He's happy. He's denied an entire mineral line of mining, basically.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually really good for time. He's going up to 5 barracks behind this. In fact, does he have a third CC? I'm going to quickly look. There is no third CC, Wardy. He is absolutely doing a two-base attack, yeah. So this game's going to get real crazy very soon. The Overlord got to scout quite a few barracks there. In fact, I'm going to look from Reynor's view exactly. He does see that it is up to 5 barracks. So he is absolutely in the know about being up against a lot of bio. Now the BC shows up, though.
Yeah, let's see what it can do. At the same time, Libera is going to siege up on the 3rd. So Queens have multiple places they kind of need to go to. Multiple mineral lines are not going to be mining. And because he wasn't expecting the BCs, the Queens aren't exactly joined up together and ready to go, right? So you're going to get 2 kills. Okay, Transfusion comes down to save one of them, but this is 2 mineral lines not mining this entire time. And if you're looking to hit a strong 2-base timing, any amount of mining time missed for Reynor is going to become problematic.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. And Reynor, maybe he thought the 3rd CC was over at the natural or so, because he hasn't been able to scout for a while, and he hasn't got that proper read. And right now, he's just been droning up like a madman. He's up to 69 drones versus the 50 of Time. Time does now throw down a 3rd on location, but it's almost like, as TLO would say, like a transitionary 3rd, like there's definitely going to be a big attack planned that has to deal a lot of damage if you're Time.
For sure, as a 3rd CC sets up off to the side.
11 drones more!
Oh...
Like if Reynor gets away with this, then that is absolutely Time's fault for letting this happen, given the state of the game. But Reynor, I don't think he has any clue whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. Time has got to go sooner, right? With his +1 finishing, combat shields will finish during this attack. What does Reynor actually have to see this? So he's going to get a lane cleaned out by Hellions. That's not even that weird. So you're still a bit blind until you wander onto creep. But once you're onto that creep, you're behind the rocks, and then you've got the siege positions that can be oh so powerful. Remember, Bane speed not done for what, another 30 seconds or so? So that's problematic too. Definitely Time, but Time, stray.
Yeah, does he have an armory available? Because turning those Hellions into Hellbats would definitely be pretty damn good for him. Mutas as well, like just flies in there, takes out a couple of Marines, but loses a Muta instantly. I mean, Reynor, he's got a lot of money to work with, but does he have time to work with? That is the question. These Queens are doing a good job fending off those Marines. BC in the main base, though, here.
Yeah, that's going to pull something back, right? Whether it's the Queens or the Mutas. Looks like the Mutas will go to deal with it nice and quickly. At least Baneling speed is now done. There's a few Lings. Just don't feel like they were meant to go that way. There's another set of Lings around the left side that might grab the reinforcements. He's got a tank at least, perhaps. Didn't get the surround. The tank is saved. In time, we'll get reinforcements over to this right-hand side. Now the Lings can turn into a count, and we'll see what Time can do against it. But he is really on top of this 3rd base and making his way, through this.
Yeah, this was definitely a misread by Reynor entirely. Like, the supplies, they're a little bit deceiving. But if Reynor can hold, he's obviously super far ahead. But Reynor doing what Reynor does. Lots of Lings in the 3rd base, but Time with his reinforcements bouncing back. The Queens are now ready here. The creep spread has definitely been thwarted quite a chunk. Reynor's fighting without upgrades. Which is definitely, a problem for him, given that Time is now soon to be at 1-1, upgrading his +2 weapons as well. Oh, this is definitely a weird situation to find yourself in.
Yeah, these Lings that keep trying counterattack are being found, so at least Time knows about them ahead of time, and he's now got this reinforcement army showing up. I think the more tanks you get here, of course, the harder this is going to become to deal with, because then your Banelings are just less and less likely to ever really connect. Going to come down to these Mutas. They have an important role to play. They need to get rid of these tanks, as you see a bit of a push forward right now. Muta's going to go for transfusions to keep them alive. Queen's putting in the work. The Mutas get rid of the Marines, which they have done. He'll be able to clean up the rest with a counter in the 3rd base of the